Welcome back to the second hour of the Prog Rock Files with me, Gary Foster. Now, between now and midnight, it's an old Tony Banks and Genesis special. Coming up in a short while, you can hear my exclusive chat with Tony Banks himself. We managed. I got an invite. Best way to describe it, I got an invite about 10 days ago. And it was from a guy I've dealt with before, and he just approached me and says, would you be interested in talking to Tony Banks about his brand new box set? And I've been a Genesis fan since about 1978, and I just went, yes, of course. I said, there's not a problem there. Lovely guy, but you'll be able to hear that in the interview that's coming up in probably about 10 minutes or so. We kicked off this hour with just a magical piece of work from Genesis, Return of the Giant, Hogweed, and it was always difficult because I decided this hour, because when I spoke to Tony, I said to him, I says, what I'd like to do, I said, is with the interview, I says, say 4 tracks from your box set, and then start and finish the hour with a Genesis track. Easier said than done, because he just says, he says, play whatever you want. And trying to pick just a couple of Genesis songs was just ridiculously tough, because I just love the band, got all their albums. So we went with Return of the Giant, Hogweed from Foxtrot. What a track. But anyway, here's the first of the Tony Banks solo tracks I'm going to play you tonight. It's from the album Bank Statements. This is Tony Banks, and this is Throwback.
Nobody sees me, no one believes me, no I'd like to find a country where no one else has ever been before. I don't know what you want in life, I just don't understand your tricks and your slyness. If you know some place I can go, then I ask you, lead me to the door. I'm just a I'm just a I'm just a throwback. I'm just a don't need no ride. I'm just a
101.8 WCR FM.
That was Tony Banks from the album Bank Statement, and that was a song called Throwback. So just before we get to the next song and then the interview with Tony Banks that recorded last week, I'll just tell you a little bit more about the box set. It's a very, very good package. It's a 4-disc box set. It's called A Chord Too Far, and it covers all his solo work from the 1979 album Curious Feeling. I'm going to play you the title track in a few seconds, and that leads right up to the 2013 album The Wicked Lady. It is an excellent collection. It really is good. There's quite a few people obviously I've spoken to not as familiar with Tony Banks solo stuff. I knew some, I didn't know all of it, and it's really good. There's some very, very good stuff on there, as we do talk about it at length in the interview, as you'll hear that in a few minutes. It was just one of those strange things. You're sitting there at work, you're reading an email and reading all sorts of stuff, and I get sent a lot of stuff, so a lot of it I skim through, and all of a sudden you look at something and it's like, hello, what do you mean there? And it's like, do you want to interview Tony Banks? Says I've been a Genesis fan for years and years and years. I first saw them when I was 14. I was lucky enough to see them in 2007 at Manchester. Fantastic band. Absolutely adore pretty much everything they've done. So it was a real honour to talk to him. Says if you want to get in touch and tell me what you think about the music we're playing tonight, and also the Tony Banks solo stuff as well. I'd like to get your feedback on that, because I might be playing songs that some of you may not have heard, but give them a go, see what you think. You can email me on Gary, Garry at WCRFM.com. You can contact me on Twitter, and it's all one word, it's at Unchained WCRFM, or you can go onto my Facebook page, which is Unchained and Prog Rock Files, and that'll tell you all about the bits and bobs that's on the show and what's coming up in the next few weeks. Right, enough of the chat. There's plenty of that coming up in a few minutes. Right, this is the title track from the 1979 first Tony Banks solo album, A Curious Feeling, and coming up after that, it's my interview with the man himself.
It's a curious feeling. To see the edge receding.
101.8.
WCR FM.
Okay, you're listening to 101.8 WCR FM, and it gives me enormous pleasure to welcome onto the show someone I've admired for a long time from Genesis, Tony Banks. How are you, Tony?
I am very well, thank you.
You're a busy man. You've got a, let's get this right, a 4-disc box set anthology coming out called A Chord Too Far.
That's right. Yeah, well, obviously, because it's an anthology, and it hasn't required too much sort of, recording work or anything, but we have remixed a certain number of the tracks, but obviously all the music on it is historical music, so it hasn't required sort of like sessions in the studio or anything.
Yeah, because I mean, for people who aren't as familiar with your solo work, we're going from 1979, A Curious Feeling, right up to 2013, A Wicked Lady. Was it difficult to come up with a final running order for this collection?
Not really. I just kind of, because it is about 70 or 80% of the music from the rock albums I did, plus rather less from some of the later stuff. But it was just a matter of the 1 or 2 tracks I definitely knew I wanted to leave off from each album, and the rest of it I decided, I wanted to use. And then as a matter of just putting it in order in a way that I felt would be kind of nice to listen to, really. So I didn't worry about chronology at all.
Yeah.
And just put tracks next to each other that I thought would enhance each other. So yeah, it's quite fun doing that, and I'm sort of pretty happy with the way I've done it.
Is it a nice chance to sort of look back on your solo work and think, oh my word, that still sounds fantastic, or maybe in hindsight I'd have done that a little bit differently? Is it a good way to look back at it?
Yeah, I don't really think about doing things differently. I mean, they're kind of the way they are, really. I'm pretty happy with most of the things I did, and I liked the music when I did it at the time, and coming back to it, I still like it. There are 1 or 2 things obviously one might have done a little differently, and obviously because some of the stuff is 20, 30 years old, whatever, some of the sounds might be a little dated to what one might do nowadays, but overall it's the compositions that I'm interested in, and I think they come across well.
And I think pretty much at the time as well, especially the albums like A Curious Feeling, at the time it was, that's how things sounded at the time, didn't it? Yeah,
well, it was the sound of the 70s, sound of the late 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain aspects to it. I don't, to my ears, doesn't sound particularly dated. I mean, I don't have any problem when I listen to sort of 60s music, which is perhaps where my heart in many ways still is. So when I hear a Beatles track or Simon & Garfunkel or the Beach Boys or something, it still sounds great to me. I don't really care the fact that maybe technologies might have moved on a bit, but they still sound really good, those songs. So, there are 1 or 2 things. I think I perhaps noticed it more with things like the drum machine sounds and everything.
Yeah.
Do date things a little bit, but beyond that, I don't think they sound particularly dated.
I mean, I dug out A Curious Feeling. I hadn't listened to it for a few years, and then I found out I was going to be talking to you, and I dug it out and just put it on from start to finish, and I just thought, what a cracking album. It really is. And I've been guilty, like a lot of people, of probably sort of like picking tracks out of albums rather than sitting down and listening to them as one piece, but it's a wonderful album. It really is good.
Well, thanks very much. Well, I suppose people nowadays do get very used to sort of picking and choosing tracks a little bit. I mean, I think anyone, anyone who actually acquires this box set, I think it'd be quite nice for them to listen to it the way I put it together without sort of thinking, I want to hear this track, I want to hear that track. Partly because, however well you know my music, because the order is different, it does make everything seem a little bit different. And to be honest, there are a few tracks on there that there's some tracks there that no one will have heard before, probably. And 1 or 2, there are 1 or 2 unreleased things as well. So, it's... The order, I try to make the order so that it was a pleasant listen, but, obviously I know that most people pick and choose, so after a bit it'll be that way, I'm sure.
We're a sort of shuffle society these days, aren't we? Everybody puts stuff on shuffle.
You get this thing where people listen to a little bit and then listen to 10 seconds of this and 20 seconds of that and everything. I suppose back in the day, you're going back to sort of, early days, 70s, when we, Genesis putting out all these records, we very much did a record so that it was like a concert performance. So, the idea was you start at the beginning and got to the end, Obviously, after a bit, you probably would have your favourites, and you wouldn't do that. But certain albums, it's the way they work, really, the way we used to construct albums, and the way a lot of this, and the way I've done this record as well. The order it is in is a part of the composition in a way.
Yeah, I mean, how long has it taken you to put this together?
I did it at the beginning of the year, really, over a period of sort of a month or 2. I mean, it was, we remixed about, I suppose, about a dozen tracks. That's what took the time. Putting the thing together didn't really take too long. We then had to master it and get everything so it all kind of sounded like it was coming from the same place. And are searching for 1 or 2, as I say, the 1 or 2 unreleased bits and pieces, mainly in the orchestral. The 4th CD is kind of concentrates, is entirely instrumental and concentrates a large extent on what I've done orchestrally since the year 2000, plus some demos for some of those bits, and one or two other little bits and pieces that sort of fit with that kind of thinking.
I mean, your solo career, it's taken many different paths. We've mentioned, obviously, the orchestral thing as well, but you've worked with, so many really good artists as well. I mean, like, just to mention a few, Fish, Nick Kershaw, Jack Hughes of Wang Chung, Tony Beards, Nathan East. Some of these are just fantastic people. After being in a band, like a legendary band like Genesis, for so long, is it quite nice to sometimes branch out and play with different artists?
Well, it was good fun for me, really. I mean, I kind of wanted on the solo career to not work with. I never worked with any of the sort of what you might call the core Genesis people. Obviously, I worked with Chester Thompson on A Curious Feeling, and then I've worked with Daryl Sturmer, obviously the Genesis guitarist over the years, on many of these things. He was, he's a good friend, and he's someone who's sort of he's a sort of real someone you can really rely on, and has a great style and everything, But beyond that, I wanted to try and use other people, and you just look around, really. I mean, in terms of singers, you hear people you like, and other people you listen to a few tapes, and you come across a singer who's unknown, you like the sound of, and then you're working with players, I mean, we did a tour with what's his name? Paul Young, and the bass player with them was Pino Palladino. And, I just was, when I was watching the Paul Young show, I mean, I really spent most of my time listening to the bass because I thought it was so fantastic. So it was a great thrill for me to be able to ask him to work on a couple of albums, which he did after that, So it's, you kind of pick and choose a bit, really. I mean, I was lucky enough to work with brilliant drummers. I mean, Steve Gadd, who's one of the best drummers in the world, certainly was at the time. That was a great thrill. And you mentioned Tony Beard is another really good drummer. So, it's seriously a lot of people out there, a lot of fun. And, chance to see how other people do it as well.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned your legendary bands. That band's Genesis, for anyone who's crawled out from under a rock and hasn't been listening to music for the last 40-odd years. I've been a fan since 1978. I was 10 years old, listening to Radio Luxembourg under the bed covers with my headphones, and I heard you guys. That was it. That was it for me. I was hooked. I first saw you guys in 1982 at the NEC in Birmingham, and then I was lucky enough to get tickets for Old Trafford in 2007, which was brilliant. What's it been like to be a member of Genesis over the years? Well,
it's, when you're inside these things, it's a bit different how it appears outside it, really. I mean, it's just kind of been I love writing music, and that's really why I'm in the band, and that's been my main contribution, I think, more as a writer than anything else. And it's a great thrill when you've written something and then you hear it, you play it live, and you get this great response and everything. It's a very exciting moment, really. But I'm not a natural performer. I mean, in a funny way, I've been doing this all my life, but it's not really my natural thing. In a different era, I would have just been a writer, I think.
Yeah.
But I was happy to play it. I could play it, and fortunate in having one or two people who were brilliant performers, obviously Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins in particular, who are brilliant sort of communicators with an audience and everything. And so, it made it all the rest of it. It was, some incredible highs, very exciting times, when things go right, and then you really get it right, and great fun working on all the visuals and everything, videos. Yeah, it's been an amazing career. I mean, I've been very lucky to be part of this, really, and doing all these. It's also given the ability to do all this solo stuff as well, with Genesis being as high profile as it was, gave me the opportunity to do all these other records and work with those other people.
I find it strange when you say you don't feel yourself as like a performer, because the one thing I've always noticed with Genesis is obviously being a keyboard player, a lot of the times the keyboard players shove to the back, but you're right on the front of the stage. So I just find it strange that you don't feel you're a performer, but you're right there in the thick of things. Yeah,
well, I mean, I'm sort of there. I mean, obviously, the keyboards are quite an important part of the sound, so I suppose it was always logical, and particularly later days when it was Phil, Mike, and I were kind of the sort of the core of the band, that we'd all be out the front there, really. It's just the way it's always been, really. I've been out there. I mean, I sort of do quite a few solos and stuff, I suppose, so you need to be somewhere people can sort of see you, since I don't really do very much. At the very least, they should be able to see where I am. I mean, I love doing all that stuff. I just, it's just, I'm not really a show-off, and I don't feel very natural on stage. I'm not really a sort of, some people just love being up there, and even if they're quite shy people, they sort of come alive on stage. It's not really like that with me. I'm just I'm a shy person, and I'm shy on stage as well. So I kind of, I'm happy to sort of. I'm very lucky just to have had other people who can fortunately take the visual attention off me, really. And also, one of the reasons I'm so keen on visuals, I suppose, with the multimedia approach, which we've always had with Genesis, is because it takes the attention off the stage a little bit, and I have much more of a feel for that. I really enjoy sort of working on kind of lighting and video and stuff, and so that's been a sort of a second thing I've been able to think about.
I mean, that production for the 2007 dates was just remarkable. I mean, we were about 20 rows back, right in the middle, and I've never seen anything like it. It was just phenomenal. To put on such a performance was just brilliant. Yeah. I mean, people sitting at the back would have got just such a great, been able to see everything brilliantly. It was
well, I mean, obviously rock concerts have changed a lot over the years. I mean, when we first started, we introduced the visuals at a very early stage, really, because the nature of our music, it suggested it, and also with Peter being kind of quite a visual chap and quite good at sort of like, doing that kind of thing. It's, we were sort of, I suppose, we pioneered various visual things, obviously, particularly the Vari-Light, the lighting show thing, which is the lights that move and do all the different colours and all the stuff which you see is totally ubiquitous nowadays, was something we kind of was originally just a Genesis special effect prototype. And we knew it could go a long way, but we weren't quite sure how far.
Yeah.
We realised it was going quite as far as it did. And also we, with First Group, to use things like the Jumbotron screens on stage and everything, because we felt, we could use that. So, it's always been something we've cared about a lot, really. And you go to any rock show now, and sort of things that seemed cutting edge at one point are now kind of just taken for granted.
Yeah. I mean, even during long periods where nothing's happening with Genesis, they're just still one of the most talked about bands. There's just an aura about the band. Fans just absolutely adore you guys. You must feel incredibly proud about what you've achieved and the love that's there for the band.
Well, we're proud of it. And we're often talked about in fairly uncomplimentary terms as well, actually. There are periods of time when we seem to sort of be the butt end of most stuff. I mean, poor old Phil gets it in the neck quite often, and often we're teamed up with that. That's one of the reasons we only did 2 shows in the UK back in 2007, really, because we really weren't too sure how it would go here, because quite a lot of negative press over the years. I think we became sort of the epitome of a certain kind of act.
Yeah.
Whereas, we did 9 shows in Germany because we knew they liked us there. And we thought, well, we'll go there then. And it was only after we put the 2 shows on sale that we realised we should have actually done a lot more here.
Yeah.
And would have liked to have done more. Because obviously, we're English, British. It would be nice to have done many more. Really, I would, particularly not doing places that we used to do really well, like sort of, obviously, Glasgow and Newcastle and Manchester and stuff would have been. We obviously did Manchester, which was a great thrill, actually. I thought Manchester, in fact, was one of the best shows on the tour, so you came to the right one.
Yes, it was just wonderful, absolutely brilliant.
We played Twickenham as well on that tour, which was okay, but it rained a bit and it was something. But, and we ended that particular European leg of the tour in Rome, playing the Circus Maximus, which is the most extraordinary concert because there's, something close to 500,000 people in there. And, it was a fairly strange experience, extraordinary, really.
Yeah. Will we ever see the band sort of record new music, maybe on the live circuit again, or maybe the odd sort of special concert?
I don't think it's likely. I certainly think to do a live tour like we did with the 2007 one's not going to happen again, really. Phil is physically not really capable of doing that now. Yeah. In terms of being together on a record, I never rule it out. Who knows, really? I mean, there's never anything planned, but, we're all still alive and anything could happen, really. Mike and I see each other quite a lot. So who knows? But
and Mike's in great form. I saw Mike and the Mechanics in Birmingham in April, and fantastic, absolutely wonderful performance.
Yeah, no, he's a glutton for punishment, actually. He goes out there playing all the time, and if ever I'm feeling a bit weary, I just look at Mike's schedule and I suddenly feel all right again, 'cause he's out there some kind of godforsaken place somewhere, and I'm not. But no, it's he seems to love the touring, and he's does a lot of it, so it's good for him.
I mean, if that is with Genesis, I mean, we'll say that. You've left us with so many great songs and albums and memories. Everybody from the bottom of my heart and all the Genesis fans out there, we thank you for that.
Thank you.
So we'll just recap as well. You've got the 4 discs box set anthology, A Chord Too Far. That comes out on July the 31st. Yep. And we just urge everyone, if you've not really dipped into Tony's solo career, then go out and get it, because it is an absolutely brilliant box set.
Well, thanks a lot.
Yeah, it is wonderful. Tony, thanks so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
Okay, well, thanks very much. That's great.
Thanks very much, Tony.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
101.8 WCR FM.
Are you ready for the rest of your life? Does your comforter provide? Are you ready to remain evermore in your world of ice? All your feelings locked inside. Are you a woman or just a mannequin? Does your heart beat like the rest? Do you ever feel like joining in with the human race? Or are you happier outside? But now you're gone, you broke the spell. I've got no memories, just a photograph. I've got the best there is of you. You're just the devil with a pretty angel face. You've made your choice, and that's okay. It never would have worked out anyway. I've got the best there is of you. You're just a devil with a pretty angel face. Will you be ready in your later life? When your looks are on the wing, and you're thinking of the ones and the scars that you left behind, as they come to haunt your mind. And when the twilight moment comes at last, and you have to face that nobody's there to care. But now you're gone, you broke the spell. I've got no memories, just a photograph. I've got the best there is of you. You're just the devil with a pretty angel face. You've made your choice, and that's okay. It never would have worked out anyway. I've got the best there is of you. You're just the devil with a pretty angel face.
That was the song Angel Face from the album Still from Tony Banks, and you might have recognised the vocals. It was none other than my old mate Fish, top man, absolutely top man. Before that, you heard my interview with Tony Banks himself, and before that was the title track from his 1979 album A Curious Feeling. I said the box set we were talking about, it is brilliant. It is a really, really good package. I said I was familiar with some of his solo material, but I wasn't familiar with all of it. And this package is excellent. It covers it brilliantly. The fourth disc is mainly the orchestral instrumental stuff, but the first three discs, it's basically a lot of stuff from albums like Bank Statement, A Curious Feeling, Still, and it is good and it works really well. And it really is a remarkable collection of work. So if you've got a few quid, it's not bad. I think you can pick it up off the internet for probably about 30 quid, which for a four disc box set, it's pretty good. I said it was an absolute honour to talk to him, because I've been a massive Genesis fan for many years, longer than I can even care to remember. I was looking through some old records, and I remember going and buying Turn It On Again, and when that came out. And it's just fantastic, and it's just a band I've absolutely adored for years, and I still absolutely love them now. It's great, and so when you get to sort of speak to, don't like using the word heroes and stuff like that, but say like your musical heroes. Tony Banks was right up there, so the opportunity to speak to him was an absolute pleasure, and yeah, it's one of those that I shall look back in many years and just go, yeah, that's one of those. It's this whole book, everybody does bucket list. Yeah, chatting to somebody from Genesis, that'll do. With the Genesis thing, so we touched on it in the interview, that it looks like, nothing may ever happen again with them. There was news of the, sort of basically them going to be doing gigs with like Steve Hackett and Peter Gabriel, but I just don't think that's going to happen. And as Tony said, he doesn't think that'll happen. So fingers crossed that we might get some new material out of them at some point. But well, if not, as I mentioned to Mr. Banks, I said if not, and they've left us with a huge amount of great material, and that's there forever, and we'll continue to listen to it, but hopefully one day we might get some new stuff. Who knows? Right, let's have another track from Tony Banks. This is off the album Bank Statement, and this is a track, when I spoke to him, we spoke off air as well, because I asked him, I said, is there anything in particular you would like me to play? I said, I'm going to play a couple of Genesis tracks, 4 tracks from your box set. Is there anything there? And he says, no, I don't mind what you play. He says, oh, hang on, I wouldn't mind if you played The Border. So he made the song. I asked him, he said he'd like it, so why not? This is Tony Banks, this is The Border.
Try forever. The sun
101.8.
WCR FM.
That was Tony Banks, and that was the song "The Border" off the Bank Statement, and that was the only song he actually asked for. He just says no, so I'll leave it up to you. He said, but I would like that one, so I said that's not a problem. We can sort that for you.